Hey, what's up guys? These are Dice Mobile and Nightlife in Tustin, and today I am going to show you guys how to do some gaffing, proper techniques for gaffing, and I know a lot of people have questions about what's the most effective way or what's the most resilient or resistant of coming apart. So, now before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, I wanted to make a little suggestion for those of you who do a ton of uplighting or gaffing work. Sometimes you're on your hands and knees for about 2 hours, and it's really important to make sure you protect your joints, like your knees and your back. And I mean, you know, I probably would not have survived this season without these things. Because sometimes, you know, I have like 3 lighting jobs per weekend, and that will really kill your back and your knees if you don't go without protection. So these knee pads I got at Home Depot, and I think I spent about, I don't know, like $12 on them, and the back brace is about $15. So you're looking at like a investment of about $30 to save your body. So please consider this purchase as part of your equipment. Alright guys, I know this looks kind of goofy. I'm wearing my knee pads and my back brace, but generally I wear all black anyway for setups, and if you put these on, it's not as noticeable. Alright guys, I'm going to demonstrate with white tape today. It's actually duct tape. It is not gaffer's tape, but I figured that I want to use this and demonstrate because it'll be a little bit easier to see. Especially for carpet and painted surfaces, you definitely do want to use gaffer's tape, because gaffer's tape is not this plastic type thing. It's not made up of, you know, like plastic cloth tape. It's actually more of a paper-like cloth tape, like the way painter's tape is. Except the tensile strength is about the same. And one of the good things about gaffer's tape is the adhesive never comes off of the tape, and the tensile strength is closer to what the painter's tape is like, so it won't pull up the carpet. So first of all, the adhesive won't stick to the carpet. Secondly, if you put gaffer's tape onto painted surfaces, it won't pick up the paint, peel the paint away from the surface. So that's one of the good things about, or one of the many good things about gaffer's tape. Gaffer's tape is also more form-fitting. So when you do stuff on carpet, this stuff does not mold into the shape of the carpet, and it doesn't stick as well also. So that's another feature of gaffer's tape that's better. Of course, it's about twice as expensive as this thing, but you know, you could kind of pick and choose when you want to use painter's tape versus I'm sorry, gaffer's tape versus duct tape. Duct tape is great on cement. That's what I've realized is that's a decent application. You can save money there, but you know, a lot of staging people would say that's cutting corners. So we have an outlet here. I'm going to go on ahead and plug in the cord, and what you want to do is not tug on the cable too snug like that, but give it a little bit of slack, not enough room where somebody might hook onto the cable and kick it out, but you want to make it so that it's relatively out of the way, but also not putting pressure on the socket. So once you figure that, find that spot, make sure to put a stripe here. Alright guys, I used a 9-inch piece or so, approximately 9 inches, onto the wall, and what you want to do is do a horizontal piece, not a vertical piece. And the reason for this is we're right up against the wall, and horizontal pieces are resistant to pulling left and right, versus a vertical piece is resistant from pulling this way. But as long as you do the gaffing correctly between here all the way down the wall, you won't have any issues of somebody hooking this and pulling it away like so. So generally you don't really have to worry about once you get it against the wall. And also you want to conserve your gaff tape and conserve time also. You don't really have to put a lot of tape along as it's right up against the wall and it's flush against the wall. Use about 9 inches of gaffer tape and form a single line right up against the wall when you're in this situation. Especially if there's beveling, like say the wall ends and it bevels and you could hide the cable underneath it. It's absolutely unnecessary to keep adding more tape because it's flush and it's pretty much impossible to pull out unless you really mean to. So I'll show you guys how to go around. What you want to do is tug the wire up against the wall as close as possible, and then apply another piece of tape, and then run it along to the point where you want to make the turn. Now, as long as you do a horizontal piece like this, you can actually affix it and then tug on the piece of wire without worry that like the tape is going to come loose because it's very resistant from that. I'm actually tugging pretty hard. You can see my muscles flexing there, and it won't come off. But if I pull this way, it's going to come right up. You see that? Okay, so I'm just gonna pretend like I didn't do that. What you want to do is, if you want to come away from the wall, you want to put a vertical piece that keeps it from pulling away. So that gives it extra support. So we'll show you. Okay, now that I'm moving away from the wall, and I'm gonna try to get this cable to kind of be on the floor, just kind of right down the floor. I put a vertical piece, and you can see that it's easy to kind of peel away, but it's a little more resistant than just a horizontal piece. So in order to make this more safe, you want to put a perpendicular piece right here, and then gaff down the cable entirely on the floor with following the cable length horizontally. So here's that first perpendicular piece. So after you get the perpendicular piece in, you put that horizontal piece about 9 inches, and then what that allows you to do is, don't cover it up yet, the entire length of it, but find the end, make a straight line with it, tug on it. You can put a good amount of pressure, so this is with a lot of slack. You could straighten it out without loosening that tape over there, and then hold this part with one hand. I can't do this while holding the camera, but hold this part with your knee or something and apply tape close to the end right here, so maybe about here-ish. Okay, so there's that last piece of 9-inch that we're going to do. And what we want to do is remember that with this taping, it's resistant going left and right, but it's very not resilient to this motion. So what we got to do is also add stripes going this way, because it's going to be on the bare floor, and say for instance this is going to be a walkway. You want to make sure that the cable does not come away from the floor. It becomes one piece with the floor. You want to make sure that it is most resistant to both directions of being kicked. So the next thing that I'm going to do is create vertical stripes, or perpendicular stripes to the cable, and I will show you that, and then we're going to cover the whole length of it up so it's resistant from going left and right at any point in the cable. So alright guys, so I've made the vertical or perpendicular pieces, and it looks kind of like a train track right now. And this keeps it from being resistant for, if it comes off the floor, it makes it resistant from, I'm kicking it decently hard right now, from coming up and being pulled out consecutively. But we're also going to go ahead and tape it right on the floor, so people won't really exactly have the opportunity to kick it up anyway. So here we go. So what you want to do is find that last point that you did a horizontal piece and just kind of keep adding. You could cover up the bottom piece, but it actually won't make a whole lot of difference. You can start with the end of it and go ahead and run a single piece, or maybe, you know, like 3-foot sections or so onto the thing. Sometimes it's easier to just tear a piece off, a long piece off, and work with, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this in one run. Now we're using 2-inch tape, and it looks like I'm not getting the kind of coverage that I want to. See, for instance, right here, I've gone off center and it's a little vulnerable here. Yeah, it's definitely going to come up. So what I'm going to want to do is make a second horizontal track to get this from being a 2-inch piece of tape to basically a 3-inch, almost maybe 3.5-inch piece of tape. So we're going to go ahead and do that second stripe. So, not the greatest looking job in the world, but this is kind of the idea with the gaffing that you want to do, and let's test it. Well, tape's coming up, and it's because it's on carpet, but I'm kicking it pretty maliciously, and you can see that there's no issues with the tape hanging on this side. And if it should get pretty damaged, let's see how many times it takes for me to try to get this up. Oh, I tore it. But yeah, you can tell that I'm being pretty violent with it. And even still, because of all the adhesive on the floor, you can see that the rest of the cable's pretty much unmoved. So this is very resistant. So pretty much somebody's got to really screw with this in order for it to come up, and you'll be pretty safe. And if this is actually not good enough for you, there is a product you can buy. It's called wire mold cord duct. I believe the company is called Wire Mold, and they create this thing where it's kind of like a little flat surface thing where you could hide up to a 12 gauge cable inside the track, and you could put that on the floor in your very high frequency areas. High frequency meaning people walk through a lot, and you can actually gaff this down onto the floor, and this will make it even more resistant. And this is a product that I use a lot in doorways and also walkways where it's unavoidable of using cables on the floor. So you guys might want to look into this. It's usually about $2 to $3 per feet. You could buy it in like a 15-foot roll, or you could also buy it in a 50-foot roll for a little bit cheaper. But definitely worth the investment. I've got maybe about 100 feet of this stuff, and definitely think that it's saved some lives so far. I'm just kidding, I'm being dramatic, but okay, so if you guys have any questions or comments or other ways of doing this, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know how, if you guys have any other any improvements on this. But this is theater quality gaffing job here with duct tape.